Okay, so this lesson is looking at how to plot bar graphs. Okay, it's a less needed skill than line graphs, but it does still sometimes come up. Okay, so if you have got the sheet, there's a graph in front of you where you can look at two different graphs, A or B, and think about which one is better and why. And then what would you suggest the person to correct the graph, write it in a full sentence. So there's just some practicing your literacy skills and looking for errors in graphs and seeing what kind of errors you can find. So it should be on the next page if you've got the worksheet. If not, I'm going to put it up on the next bit of the video and you can just write down notes on your sheet. Okay, so there are two different graphs here. Okay, got graph A and graph B. Looking at them, what kind of things can you straight away identify that are maybe better about one of the graphs than the other graph? Okay, pause the video, have a think, and then we can go through some answers in a minute. Okay, so if we're looking at graph A compared to graph B, there's a couple of things. So first off, in graph A, the axes are the wrong way around. Straight away we can see the axes are the wrong way around. Okay, they haven't included units. If you look here, there's got seconds, there's nothing there. Okay, they haven't even labeled the one axis, so we don't really know what's going on with these metals by here. Okay, the bars are all different sizes. And then some of them touch and some of them don't touch. Okay, most of the graphs that you will plot in science, the bars don't have to touch, okay? But if they are going to touch, they'll tell you or they'll show you one before where the bars are touching. So you need to leave an equal space between each bar. Okay? So what we're going to look at today is constructing a graph to represent categorical data, okay? Data that is distinct and you can split into certain values very easily. Okay, so we've compared two different bar graphs. We're going to look at the success criteria needed, and then we're going to have a go at plotting some bar graphs given data. Okay, so we've most probably talked about this before. You should have done it in school or lower down the school as well. But if this is your first time doing graphs and you want to have a little bit of a success criteria for how we plot graphs, this is what we use at Cantonian. Okay, so scale, when we're talking about scale, some of these now, especially with bar graphs, you might only have one scale to do instead of two, which is with a line graph, but the same rules always apply. It has to be either ones, twos, fives, or tens, or multiples of them. Okay, so you can't have threes and you can't have fours. Okay, that's really important that you do not plot them. Okay, by multiples I mean you can have 50, you can have 100, you can have 20, because they are multiples of them numbers, but your scale has to be one of these numbers and it has to go up evenly. Okay, not just random numbers. Okay, axes is to do with the fact that you're going to label x is across, y to the sky. Okay, independent variable always goes on the x-axis, dependent variable always goes on the y-axis. Okay, it's not just about being able to label x and y, it's about being able to remember which type of variable goes on which axes. Okay, labels, so what is it talking about? Making sure you include correct labels, and you get them from the table. Get them from the table of results. The independent variable will always be the first one, dependent variable will always be the second one. Whatever is written there, we can then use to plot our tables, plot our labels on our graph. Okay, units, you often see that, making sure it's in brackets, something like centimeters cubed. A title, okay, what is happening in the graph? Okay, what is the graph about? So it's a little bit different than line graphs. Okay, it's more of a what are you trying to figure out? What was the question that was asked? What are you trying to plot on your graph? Okay, and then equipment, you always use a ruler and a pencil. Okay, I do not want to see any pen. Okay, you can't rub out pen. It's really important that we don't even use pen to like write these words here. No pen whatsoever. Okay, so this is what we're looking for every time we plot a graph, thinking about, can we give it the salute? Is it okay? Is it clear? Does it look like a really good graph? So We're then going to work through one or two together, and then there's loads for you to practice if you've got the sheet, or if you haven't got the sheet, you can just practice on any old graph paper, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is gather the correct equipment. You need a ruler and a pencil, okay? I know I'm going on about it, but it's so important when we're plotting graphs that we only use a ruler and a pencil. The next thing, which you're not going to be able to see me do, but you'll watch it come up on the screen, is to draw on your axes, okay? So that they're really nice and dark and you can see them. Okay, sometimes it'll already be done for you, but it's so important that we develop this skill of making sure that we are able to draw on our axes and look at them and be able to see them. Okay, so we've gathered our equipment, we've drawn on our axes, label them. So X is across, Y to the sky. Okay, identify your independent and dependent variables from the table. Okay, independent variable always goes first, dependent variable always goes second. Okay, use these headings to label your X and Y axes. So you don't want to draw it right there. You want to leave yourself space because remember, we're going to have to include numbers or in this case, words. So country, there's obviously no units for country. And then copy in the whole thing then. Rainfall in the month of May. Centimeters cubed. Okay, so use these headings, ensure you have included units. Okay, pick your scale for your y-axis. Okay, with these types of bar graphs, it's often words go on the x-axis and then numbers go on the y-axis. Really important that you kind of pinpoint where your numbers are going to go. So put an origin 0, 0 and put some lines coming out from your darkest line. Okay, so if you see every fifth square is a lot darker, so it helps you plot your scale correctly, okay? You don't want a scale that doesn't fill the whole page. So you're aiming for a whole page scale. You want to make sure that it fills the whole page. The highest number I've got is 100. So I'm just going to count out and go 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So it fits, okay? It fits really nice. And I know exactly where them numbers are going to go. Okay, it's really even. It's a good scale. It's going up in equal intervals. Okay, and these are all skills that you're going to need, okay? Draw your first bar, okay? So when you're drawing a bar, I would draw a line across at the top. Oops, I missed. With your ruler, draw a line across at the top and then draw the line all the way down, okay? Making sure it's really nice and neat and it's a straight line, okay? Then you're going to label that Wales, okay? Leave a gap, so leave a gap, okay? And then when you come to do it, you're going to do your next one there, okay? Italy then is 30. Draw a line across at 30 and then draw your lines down, okay? Make sure you're using a ruler. Leave a gap, okay? Oh, make sure you label it as well. Leave a gap, so we've got the USA. Okay, that's 70. Find 70. Draw a line across from 70. Draw a line. Ooh, I missed with the ruler there. Let me go again. There we go. That's much better. Okay, and then leave a gap. Belgium. Okay, again, find it. So it's 50. And then draw your line down, okay? Obviously, you're using a ruler and a pencil, so stuff like that little bit there, I can just rub out, okay? So, making sure you've labelled it, draw your first bar, draw your second, remember to leave a gap, okay? If you don't need to leave a gap, we'll let you know. Write a relevant title. So, this is looking at average rainfall. Sorry, fall. In May, okay? You don't need a graph to show anything like that. You could write it by there if you want. The final thing we're going to do then is check our salute. So just write salute somewhere on the page. And look, have you picked a nice scale that's going up evenly, numbers that are multiples of 1, 2, 5 or 10? You have, so you can give yourself a tick. Have you got your independent variable on your x-axis and your dependent variable on your y-axis? Yes, so give yourself a tick. Have you labelled them? Yep. Have you checked your units? Yep. Have you got a title? Yep. Have you used correct equipment? If you've not used a ruler and a pencil and nothing else, then you won't have used correct equipment, okay? So there's one that we've kind of plotted together. Ooh. And then there's just the answers, okay? I know, I appreciate it's a bit hard to see. I did try and use like a darker black pen. But again, you can pause it up there just to check that yours looks good compared to mine. Okay. So we're going to do one more together and then there's a couple for you to practice, okay? Gather your equipment. Get a ruler and a pencil. No pens, because when you make mistakes, it's really hard to rub out. Draw on your axes. Draw on your axes. Making sure that you do it really nice and dark, okay? Label your axes, X and Y. X is across, Y to the sky. Okay, making sure you're ticking off your success criteria as you go. If you need to pause it because you want to go a little bit slower, that's fine. Okay, pause it, make sure you get it right. These are really key skills you need for science. Identify independent variable, always the first column. Identify dependent variable, always the last column. So if there's loads of different columns calculating a mean, it's always the last column. Okay, independent goes on the x-axis, dependent goes on the y-axis. Okay, use these headings to label your x and y axes. So I'm going to put teacher. Remember, don't put it too close because we need to plot even numbers or our words. And I'm going to put the whole thing on this side. Okay, time to run 100 meters in meters, and then we'll do it in seconds. That's what we're doing on the side. Okay, label, check you've got units, check you put that in brackets. Okay, pick a scale for your y-axis. So I need to get to 40. Okay, I need to get to 40. So put 0 and I'm going to check counting up. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I'm not going to get to 40. So try 5s then. 5. Remember to darken that line and only draw it on one of them dark lines, keeping the scale nice and even, keeping it in an even setting. 30, 35, 40, 45. Okay, so again, that's gone up nice and evenly. You can see the points. They're not like in different places. They're all on that dark line. Okay, and I've got up to 40, covering over half the page. Okay, so now we need to draw our first bar. So first bar is 40. Using your ruler, draw a line. Using a ruler, draw a line across and draw a line down. You need to make sure your bars are really nice and straight. So the first one, I'm not sure why I've done it, but I'm just doing it backwards. So I'm going to do Miss Evans first. Okay, and I can take that one off. Okay, so let's go back to the top and do it properly now. Mr. Mulroy, 25. You can see if I try and do it freehand, it's not a nice line. So correct that and draw a line down and down. Okay, leave a little gap there, making sure so you've got Mr. Mulroy ticked off. Next up then, Mr. Dyer, 10. So draw your line across at the top. Line across at the top. And then draw your lines down. And write in the name underneath. Making sure you're leaving a gap. Last then, Mrs. Saint, draw a line across the top. And then draw a line down to make a bar. Okay, making sure you're labelling it. Draw your first part, draw your second part, write a relevant table. So time taken for teachers to run 100 meters. Okay. And then check your salute. So scale, picked a nice scale that's going up evenly. Axes, got my axes the right way round. So I've got my independent variable on the X, dependent variable on the Y. Labelled them, yep. Got my units, yep. Got a nice title, and I've used equipment, a ruler and a pencil, okay? So in yours then, that's just an example of it if you wanted to pause and check it. That's an example of it actually written down. You have then got a couple to try. So pause this screen now, have a go at this one. Doesn't matter if you're using different type of graph paper, it's fine. It can be any graph paper. Check this one, okay? Pause it. And then here's the answers to check, okay? I know it's not great. You can't really see them very well, okay? But there's one down there, one there, one there, one there. It is quite hard to see, okay? Again, there's 2 more then to practice, okay? So you pause the screen. If you've got a worksheet, then you can just work through the worksheet. If you haven't got a worksheet, then you can just use the data that's on the screen, okay? Just remembering your scales. That's most probably the hardest thing about this, and drawing your bars separate, okay? And then there's the answers. Again, pause the screen, have a look, check your answers. I know it's quite hard to see, but you can see where they are. You can see where they are based on the words at the bottom, but check your answers, making sure you've got it all right. So if you've done it, hand it in to us. If you're doing it on graph paper, that's great, bring it in. If you've got any problems or you still don't understand, let me know, or someone in the science department, and we'll help you again. Okay, thank you.